Aloha and welcome back to another episode of the Ohana Packers Edition podcast. The podcast where I am going to try and keep all the screws in my head together as I battle through a cold, and Joe is going to pick the pieces up off the floor when I do eventually fall apart. But Joe, unlike me, the Packers are holding it together with something more than duct tape and elbow grease, and what a win today. I know we talked about it on Thursday if you could hear us over the audio issues we were having, but I mean, it was just another masterclass put together by LaFleur. Halfley keeps putting good stuff on tape for the defense, and Willis, I don't know how to split the credit between Willis and LaFleur. LaFleur drew up another masterful game plan, but Willis stepped up to the plate and took his best swings today, and you can't ask for anything more than that from your backup quarterback.
Well, you also got to throw Tom Clements in there.
Yes.
I mean, without Clements, I have no doubts on the floor, but Clements is definitely a quarterback whisperer. He did it for Rodgers. He's done it for Love. He's done it for Willis. So I got to give him a lot of credit too, because without his help, I don't know how prepared a player like Willis would be. I also want to, again, tell Taylor Lewan to shut the fuck up because it does seem like Malik Willis does know how to play football.
I think it just shows how important the quality of the ingredients are, that Bill Parcells, I know he was talking more about like roster construction, like being the one to put the ingredients in the kitchen. But I mean, they were asking Willis to make chicken salad out of, forget chicken shit. It was like not even chicken he was working with in Tennessee. And that product kind of bore itself through in what Green Bay's defense did to Tennessee's offense. But I mean, we can spend all the time we want on this intro, but not a lot to complain about in this game. Just an efficient performance from the offense, and the defense finally got to flex its muscle on multiple fronts today. And dude, let's just dive in. Where do you want to start? I don't have notes today. I've been trying to sleep this thing off as much as I can to survive through this podcast. But flip a coin. You want to start with LaFleur or you want to start with Willis?
Well, I think we just need to start in the offense, period. So, I mean, just the game call again from LaFleur was top-notch. There were some instances where, you wish he would have done a little bit something different. But the good thing about it is he did make adjustments. Like, everybody knew that you don't run the ball up the middle, but it seemed like for the first quarter and a half, it was, all right, well, we're just going to give it to Jacobs and run him up the middle. So, I mean, but then after a while, he finally but I also have to give him credit because he opened it up, allowing Malik to throw it a little bit more, and he looked good throwing it. So,
yeah. I think it was a big statement to start the game with a fake toss into a play action look. Like, just right out the gate, you're like, and here we go. Like, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. And I have different theories on the running inside. Like, I do think it is a little bit of like that sort of Lombardi era macho, like, this is what our team is and this is what we do kind of thing. But also, I do think a lot of what allowed Willis to be good, getting him on the edge, letting him operate, outside the pocket, having the threat of Jacobs banging his head against the wall. I know that it's not sexy. I know it's kind of frustrating for a lot of people, but to have those linebackers and safeties who are not great coverage people, even thinking that there's anything happening inside, that split second of hesitation created all the, you saw it on some of the play action looks that they had, some of the end arounds that they ended up doing. And then the irony of it is that, save for some penalties, Jacobs was going to have a really good game on the ground, and he started to break off some longer runs in the second half of this game. And I think it just goes to show, like, the difference between having that true pounder workhorse back. And I do think Wilson plays really well off of what Jacobs does, because I liken Wilson to sort of like a Ryan Grant, where he might not hit the right hole every time, but he's going to hit it hard. And by doing that, you're going to create opportunities for the team in the run game. But, I mean, just top down, just a good performance against what we we were saying on Thursday was a very good a stout Titans defense.
For sure. And, I understand what you're saying. I think it was getting frustrating because it was just continuous up the middle when, okay, let's start adding in some of the outsides. And then, one up the middle, but then let's shoot one to the outside. One up the middle, shoot, rotate them in and out. But it ended up being better for, in the end, obviously we're talking about a win and not a loss, so it didn't hurt anything anyway. But and like I said, they opened up Malik Willis with the passing, and what was it, for the first two completions were over 30 yards.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to back 30-yarders. So, he really put the team on his shoulders and led, and he didn't look rattled. There were a couple of times where throughout the game he seemed to hold on to the ball because he wasn't sure where to go, but that was just because of coverage and everything else.
Even that, oh boy. Even that, I was kind of saying, like, I appreciate that he's trying to be a passing quarterback, like in the first half especially, but I thought there were times where they kind of would have benefited from him doing the, like, drop back read, it's not there, just go kind of thing and stuff, because you saw him kind of trying to do the, like, love Aaron Rodgers things where he, like, you can tell he's getting through his first, maybe his second read, they're not there, and he's like, if I step to my right, someone might come open kind of thing, and you're like, oh, if you just ran right there and stuff. And it's such a give and take, because you're like, it's good because you can tell, like you said, the Tom Clement side of it, you can see the coaching getting through to him, you can see whatever LaFleur has coached, has drawn into the scheme, that it's like, yeah, like, this guy is supposed to be there, but if he's not there, this route should come open, a step behind it kind of thing. And so it's good to see Willis trusting the process and the play, but at the same time, selfishly as a fan, you're like, dude, we just need this win, and we need you to do whatever it's going to take to score more points kind of thing. And so it's like, sorry, bro, but damn your personal growth. We need points and we need wins. But, like, it was unfortunate that it was, like, capping our proficiency because he was doing actual quarterbacking things. But like you said, there are multiple moments where Willis stared down the gun barrel and delivered. I thought he only had, like, 2 throws that were off target. One was that slant to Reed over the middle, where it was like he had pressure in his face, and I thought he tried to throw the perfect pass to Jaden instead of just throwing a pass to him that he could work with a little bit better. Reed had to kind of stop and catch it behind him, and it kept him from getting the first down. But I do think that was the one right before the penalty on the field goal attempt, so it kind of worked itself out in the end. And then I had no problems with the, like, arm punts he threw up to Dobbs and to Wicks on those slot fade attempts, because he bought time in the pocket. It's a safe throw because he's putting it where it's going to be a catch or nothing. And that's the kind of stuff you like to see from a developing young quarterback, where, like we talked about last week, Joe, where it's like, this is a guy who's had turnover problems. He will put the ball in harm's way. And it's like, you're kind of seeing that transformation already, where last week it was a very training wheels heavy passing attack, and this week LaFleur is like, okay, you seem to have gotten the concepts and understand the play call, we're going to let you let it rip. And the Packers benefited from that throughout this game, really.
Right. And I don't even have an issue with the arm punt, as you called it, to Dobbs. I think Romeo just read it wrong, because he was going out instead of...
We can blame the Titans for their stupid pyrotechnic show, because I swear to God, we came out of the third quarter to fourth quarter break, and I was like, did it start the thunderstorm? And then you have Moose Johnston. He's like, no, like, that's not your TV. They set off pyrotechnics in between the quarters. And dude, I was like, you're down 2 scores. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that made no sense to have it in between quarters. I mean, unless it was something that happened that it was supposed to be during halftime and they didn't go off.
Or like it's some celebration of some former team or some, like, military appreciation, like, whatever. But third quarter break seems like a weird time. But yeah, like, even Moose was kind of joking because Dobbs, he, like, looked one way and then he looked the other way and then he looked back, and it's like Moose kind of even made the joke for Romeo that he's like, hey man, like I'm seeing more fireworks still. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at up there. So
Yeah.
yeah, the Wicks one was definitely like I don't know if Dobbs would have caught up to the ball even if he saw it. The Wicks one was the one where I was kind of like, damn, like that was actually like kind of there if he found it faster. But yeah,
Well, and I even had to point out the one to Reed where you could see Jaden throwing a fit after. It's like, Jaden, I understand you wanted it here, but you had your fingers on it.
yeah,
And what one thing that we always talk about that they tell you in the NFL, if your hands are on it, you need to come up with it.
yeah,
But the two of them that Malik missed him on it was like Jaden alligator armed it.
yeah. I think like the last swing route, it was almost like Reed wanted it on his body so he could like juke as he caught it, kind of thing. And it was funny because they showed a little bit of LaFleur talking to Willis on the sideline, and I almost think that LaFleur wasn't even mad about the throw. I almost think LaFleur was telling him like you were supposed to keep that, or like their conversation almost looked more to that effect as opposed to like because he was kind of asking him, "What did you see?" Like you could kind of see LaFleur say, "Like what did you see?" And Willis was saying,
Yeah,
"Like
I
oh,
saw
like
that part.
yeah." So I think it was even
Um,
more that they were discussing.
Right, and it's like, Jaden, what are you? I couldn't understand. What are you? Is it more that you dropped it, but you're yelling at Malik? Malik put it in a nice spot. You
Yeah,
just
like from a technical point, it's in the perfect spot for Reed to take one step upfield and start to go, kind of thing. And that's where I kind of get into the whole like, did he want it more on him? Because there was a defender cutting towards the sideline, but there was a good deal of space between him and the defender that he probably doesn't get the first down. But if you catch it, you're already heading upfield and with the angle to the sideline. Like we saw Reed run around these guys all day, so it's kind of like you said, is like just catch it and see what happens, kind of thing. So yeah, not too many complaints at all today, and it was just good to see him get like it was good to see Watson get involved. I do think that was more a function of what the opposing defenses were doing and a little bit of like what kind of routes LaFleur was using Watson on, but seeing him get to run that slot fade and Willis putting it in really the only spot that you could for that throw, and then that long dig route that Willis just puts it on a rope to him, like those are the things you want to see out of Watson. And
was that the second one
the like 3rd and 16 or whatever the hell it was, and
where he had to like jump and make a play on it.
that was the first one. That was the first 3rd down conversion on the initial drive. And then
Because
they had
I
the one.
sat there and I was like, he actually got physical.
And it's not even that he got overly physical. It's more that he just used the physical tools that are there for. And we could go down a whole bunch of rabbit holes with it. But part of me wonders, like, is it the renewed confidence that he has his lower body figured out, where it's like if he whips his hip open and jumps for a ball, something's not going to just yank itself and pull and he's going to be out for a month, kind of thing. Whereas now he's like, no, like I've got full confidence, like to use
Especially
a Forrest
after
Gump.
that hit.
Yeah, to use a Forrest Gump, new legs for Lieutenant Dan. But like Christian Watson's like, I've got new legs, and I'm willing, because we haven't seen him reach for a ball like that since that Chiefs game. Really, that maybe that the Thanksgiving game against the Lions or the Sunday night game against the Chiefs the week after, where he caught those slot fades in the end zone, and this was that similar play, but. Just great to see. I wasn't at all worried about Watson. These first 3 games were just weird circumstances. The field in week 1, then the last 2 weeks you don't have your starting quarterback, so of course the game plan is going to be a little wonky. So it's good to see him get back in the flow of things.
Foreshadowing it, there's a little bit of our new segment that I will go off on a little bit more. So I won't go into it too deep here, but. Yeah, it's the only other complaint or 2 complaints that I have. No more Musgrave trying to block. It just didn't work. Oh, sorry, you went kind of
okay.
weird.
I'm back.
Weird feedback. Okay, so Musgrave no longer needs to block. He was getting his ass handed to him all day today blocking. And number 2, Emmanuel, I love you. You You were doing great, but please don't try to outjump somebody.
Did you see his tweet after the game about it?
He smiled in midair or something like
Yeah,
that.
he said he started laughing because he was like, "Oh shit, what did I just do?"
But that was a weird play. Who
like
would have
watching
thought
the reverse angle, I was like, "Thank God he held on to the ball," because when they show it from the end zone angle, he's like, because he's jumping and his arm comes like this. It's like that ball was like this close from fumbling and stuff. So yeah.
Well, who would have thought the DB would have been able to change directions, because he was going low and then all of a sudden he popped right
Well,
back
and the
up.
funny thing with that too is that's Quandre Diggs, and Quandre Diggs is like 5'8". Like I'm
Yeah.
taller than him, so yeah, it even more so. And then it was really funny because then Jacobs just ran his ass over on the next play. So it was like, I won that round, but I lost the war still. But I mean,
well today. There are some issues with the offensive line. There were more penalties, not just from Walker, but you had some from Elton and that, so that needs to be cleaned up a little bit.
And I'm going to argue that at least 3 of those, the 2 on Jenkins and the Walker hands to the face, I'm arguing that those were bullshit calls, because the Walker one, it's unfortunate because his hand is in the area, but it's not on the face mask. He is like his throat choking the guy, but it's not the face mask. Detroit Lions fans will laugh at us saying that. And then the Jenkins ones, the fact that they never showed a replay on it tells me that it was a horrible call on both of them. But you can't keep shooting yourself in the foot. Like it's honestly kind of a miracle they overcame as many of those penalties as they did. And even on Rashid's hold, which was a legitimate call, I said it during the game, that's a technique thing. And hand placement has always been the part of his game that needs the most work. You watch any of Mike Wall's videos, that's the part that he's always saying, he's like, he loves almost everything else about Rashid's game, but his hand placement is what needs work. And I say it all the time, give me the guy who needs some coachable technique work over the guy who just can't hack it out there. Now, and on top of that, Rashid is a former 7th round pick with 1 year's worth of game film. And he's very much in that first month of the season where everyone else has the book on him now. And so they're like, okay, these are the things he struggled with last year. No matter how good he was playing down the stretch and in the playoffs last season, he's still a second-year starter. And we know what buttons to push, and let's see if he can fix them. And so, no, the penalties can't continue, but I'm not discouraged by what we're seeing, because overall he's playing fine to well. Just got to clean it up on the penalty front.
Well, yeah, I'm not overly worried about it. It's just more cleanup. But yeah. I got to admit, I haven't fully watched him since he's taken over as starter. Is he bear hugging? Is that why his hands seem to be getting...
Honestly, it comes and goes. And like I said, that's the part where Wall is critical on his play, because he's like, when he gets it right, he dominates people. And you see it on like screen. Yeah. You see it on like the plays where he pulls and gets out in space, and even the ones where he down blocks. But sometimes on those reach blocks, he gets a little ahead of himself, and it's sort of like he's overthinking, and he's kind of doing instead of just blocking the guy, he's like, I need to reach him and I need to get outside of him, and he tries to get 2 steps ahead of where he is, and because of that, it's like he's catching a fridge instead of pushing it uphill kind of thing. So, like I said, that's what happened on that penalty. I think he just got out over his skis, was, like I said, 1 or 2 steps ahead of where he needed to be at that moment. And if he just sticks to his fundamentals, shoots inside, he's got that block, and Jacobs is reading it anyway. So, like I said, it's fixable. And I count on, Butkus and Stenovich to iron that out, because we saw him clean it up a lot over the back half of last season.
Yeah, so I'm not overly worried. I've always been on the Walker train, so I'm good on that. I just know they need to clean it up a little bit, because it can't continue to go down, because then other teams will start using it. Okay, well, we know he's going to do this, so we need to start going this route. But, yeah, you know what's really weird about this is when the team loses, we can go an hour and a half talking. But when the team wins, we're already looking, and we're already halfway done with doing our our show just because of, there's not a lot to break down with it.
And it's hard too with the backup quarterback because it's like, it seems that Jordan was really close. As much as media members and all that kind of stuff want to say he wasn't close, I do think he was legitimately close. And so it's like, how much of this is what we expect to see next week against a good Vikings team, what is right now a good Vikings team, or how much of it is kind of going to be put on the shelf because Jordan's going to start next week. So that also kind of makes it like, certain aspects of it, certain aspects of what the run game looks like aren't going to be super applicable next week. But penalties, catching the ball security, not hurdling when you don't need to, and just that side of it. That's all stuff that are definitely in play, no matter who is under center.
Right. There was something I was going to say, but I completely blanked on it. So
elephants.
I guess, yeah. So I guess that means we need to move on.
Right, and we'll just circle back one more time. Just another, can't say it enough, just another stellar game plan put together by LaFleur using every aspect of every player. This goes back to the extra dimension that Willis brings as a mobile quarterback. This goes to what we talked about with the Packers. It doesn't matter who their wide receiver one is because they're all really talented in their own right, and it creates a lot of issues for opposing teams. And at the epicenter of it, you have a play caller and scheme creator who knows how to utilize all of those talents to put a scheme together that's going to maximize the abilities of the players at each position. And like, anyone who keeps saying that LaFleur is a Rodgers merchant or whatever, like, that should have died last year with Love turning it on down the stretch. But this 2-week stretch is just a total referendum on who LaFleur is as an OC. And, you had Titans fans were like, well, he was here and we didn't do much. I think we're seeing why he didn't do much. It was because he was with his right hand and his left foot handcuffed behind his back together because of what you had on offense, not LaFleur.
For sure. And, I'm completely in agreement with you that you can no longer put the whole thing on Rodgers for the early success for LaFleur. It just goes to show LaFleur was able to turn him back into an MVP
he had an
type.
Equal hand. It was an equal opportunity partnership. Yeah, exactly.
And the success that the Packers started having last year, obviously you can put a lot of that on Jordan's growth, but you've also got to put it in there with LaFleur. He's definitely proven that he is a top-notch head coach.
Yeah. But I think too, the reason that we don't have, we have a lot to say, but we're not getting stuck on it is, I think for the most part, the penalties, the whatever nitpicks we have, they're all fixable. They're fixable, whether it's improvement of the guy we're talking about or other players on the roster. There is no problem on offense that you're like, they're screwed because they don't have an answer. Where I was going before my internet died before I did somehow, is what I was saying is, I think why we're able to get through the offense pretty quick, Joe, is the issues that we have, the complaints we have, they're all things that are fixable in this season because they're coachable, or, part of it with Love coming back from injury. They're all things that the solutions are on this roster. There are no, oh shit, they're screwed problems on offense, to my opinion.
Right, and it's a win, so it's hard to pick apart a win.
Yeah. So and that'll put a nice bow on how we thought the offense did today. So to the defense, and it was a rough start for the defense. They had some issues with the Titans scripted first series. Tennessee went right down the field. It was a rough start to the game for both Quay and Isaiah McDuffie. Tennessee was kind of able to take advantage of them in play action situations on that initial drive. And then it looked like Rashawn was able to get a sack to stop them for a field goal, and Preston was lined up offside. And it was just one of those like, oh, great. Is it going to be one of those kind of games today? And
how did Preston not know he was lined up in the wrong area.
So, okay, this doesn't excuse Preston, but in my opinion, he is a guy that has always pushed the envelope of lining up offside. Like whether he's in a 2 point stance or a 3 or/4 point stance, he has always been a guy that has really crowded the line of scrimmage and has had some moments where like you kind of question if he was offside, like if he got off the snap early or was lined up a little bit in the neutral zone. And so that one, honestly, and I know I'm a homer for saying this, I didn't think it was as bad as some of his other ones. I think it looks worse because he's in a 4 point stance. So, it's like your hand is here. So it's like, oh, it looks like you're offside more as opposed to when you're in a 2 point stance standing there. But he's always a guy that's kind of pushed the threshold on that, and he got caught. Like it's not an excuse, and it can't happen in that situation. But that's, from my eye, what happened on that play. He just lined up offside.
And I mean, that could be the case, but he looked, when they did the replay, he looked like he was too far offside. So it's like, how are you not paying attention to that? But yeah, that sucked for Rashawn, and I know I'm going to sound like an asshole at this moment, but I think you do got to start worrying a little bit about Rashawn, because I know this is only week 3, but he should have been dominating a little bit more on this weak offensive line, and yeah, he hasn't been there. We're already
it's what's what Mike Wall always harps on him is whoever is coaching him up has got to tell him stop speed rushing, because Lucas's sack is a result of Rashawn just dump trucking the right tackle into the quarterback, and he kind of created Lucas's sack. Still a great rush and effort by Lucas, but Levis is there like a dead chicken because Rashawn had already gotten him off his spot and bewildered him. But it's not enough from what you expect from your top, elite pass rusher. I agree with that. But I think a big part of it is like, dude, just use. I know you're an uber athlete for your size, but there's only like 1 or 2 guys in this league that can stop your bull rush. Just bull rush everyone, and it'll set up the want for you to use your speed rush. But it is a bummer that his sack got taken off the board, but he can be better. He definitely can be better.
He definitely can, because if you look at right now, I'm looking on ESPN, and it says for his regular season stats, he's got 3 total tackles, 1 solo, 2 assisted, 1 sack, and 1 pass defense. We're week 3. There should be a little bit more to it than that. And,
yeah, and
let me finish this off real quick.
Sorry, go for it.
I mean, I'll let you get to it, but I was just going to say they're projecting him at 26 total tackles and 8.5 sacks. That's not a good projection for a guy making as much money as he is right now.
And the sack number isn't bad, but it's like you said, it's the overall impact, the lack of tackles, and you can not excuse it away completely, but you can explain it some with the last 2 weeks where it's like, okay, you had to contain the pocket and stuff, but it was a bummer that you didn't see him get in on more action this week, especially because according to what I was listening to Andy Herman's post-game pod, he did lead the unit in snaps, so by like 6 or something. So you hope to see a little bit more from him, but also at the same time, I think that speaks to the games that Inigbare, Preston ended up having, and Lucas. I think they all had dynamite games, and that forced fumble that Kingsley had was what I want Rashawn to do more often, is to use your bull rush, set that tackle up for your bull rush, and then cut inside of him and use your athleticism that way. And that rush that Inigbare created the forced fumble on, that is the guy from South Carolina that excited me so much as a draft prospect 3 years ago. And even his half sack where he starts off over the center and just swims around him, those 2 plays are the guy on tape that I was like, that's the pass rusher that I really liked coming out of college.
For sure. And, for 8 total sacks on the day, you can't ask for more. You just, like I said, I got to go back to when your high money guy is not. I get one of them was wiped away because of penalty, but still, when you have 8 total sacks on your defense and your high money guy isn't one of them, it kind of worries you a little bit. But Devontae Wyatt come around 2 sacks, and he created basically all of that on his own.
Yep.
Uh, Edge Cooper had a half a sack, and he looked fast going in, knifing in for that one.
Yep.
And everybody got into it a little bit. Lucas, I thought he had a fairly good game today.
Even though he only had the 2 tackles, I thought he was really active out there. Yeah, I was kind of surprised that was his, obviously he has the sack, but I was kind of surprised that he only had 1 other tackle today.
Right, but his pressures had to been there. I don't have the stats on it right here, but you got to figure his pressure, because he was driving his guy back a lot.
Yeah.
And he seemed to be in the pocket a lot. So, good on him. And I'm going to pat myself on the back for this one. Xavier McKinney with another interception this week.
And not the gimme one that you were kind of calling. That one was it wasn't the best throw from Levis, but he ranged from center field to come over the top and grab that one. So, that was a playmaker, not a haha special tip drill kind of thing.
Right. The one interception that was a gimme was the Jair Alexander one. I mean, Jair made a tremendous play on it, but Levis pretty much threw it exactly where Jair expected it to be.
Yeah. A couple people were saying it more in complaint of the first drive, where it's like he is staring down everything so hard, and you kind of just let him march down the field and stuff. Jair said, "Yeah, enough of that. Don't worry, I got you, boys." So, yeah, I mean, for all the people that have been questioning what's Jair doing, blah blah blah, Jair hasn't capitalized on. We've seen him drop a few of those opportunities in the past, but so it was really nice to see him just take that thing from start to finish and capitalize on that fully, as opposed to being just a really good pass breakup. He turned it into a complete excellent play.
And you talk about how it surprises you that Lucas only had 2 tackles a day. This being his first ever pick 6 surprised me when they were saying
right.
That. So I mean, I know he hasn't had the numbers for interceptions for his career, but it just surprises me it took him this long for a pick 6. That also goes back to how shitty our defenses have been, that he hasn't been able to create those types of plays.
Yeah. So just, and I thought it was, outside of the touchdown to Hopkins, which I don't think there was anything he really could have done except commit defensive pass interference. I thought Stokes had a good game.
Yeah.
Especially after, there was the questions of is he getting passed up by Valentine, blah, blah, blah. I thought that was more just trying to keep the 2 of them fresh and stuff. I thought Stokes played a really good game. He had that one play on the tight end screen where he knifes in between the 3 blockers and just cuts that play down for a 1-yard gain. I thought he tackled well basically every play except for the Hopkins play. And the Hopkins play, that's just a Hall of Fame caliber player doing his thing. And Hopkins can't really run anymore, but you get him in a phone booth and he's still going to make magic happen. So I thought it was a strong game from Stokes today.
Well, you said it perfectly. Stokes had perfect coverage on him. It just, Hopkins had that one move and Stokes couldn't avoid it. So it just...
And it was the best ball Levis threw, because it was in the one spot where Stokes couldn't do anything about it legally within the rules of the game. So yeah, you combine all those things together, it's shit, that's unfortunate, but that's a Hall of Famer over there.
Right, and then his little jackass wink afterwards. Whatever, DeAndre. But I'm really another surprise is that Will Levis went for 260 yards. That just, with the way the Packers were playing, it was kind of hard to believe that he still went for 260.
I think it really is on the back of their 2 touchdown drives, because I don't. Let me try and look it up real quick. I don't think they really ran it on their opening touchdown drive, and then the second touchdown drive, it was the 2 big plays to Hopkins. So yeah,
Well, they hardly ran at all.
Yeah.
Pollard had 6 carries, Levis had 3 carries, and Ty J. Spears had 2. So they had like no carries at all so they didn't rush at all. It was mainly pass. But still, just with the way the Packers played, it was hard to believe that he still was able to come out with 260 yards on him.
Yeah. So like their first touchdown drive, of the 70 yards, like 64 of them were passing yards. And then the second touchdown drive, it was 68-yard drive. Yeah, 65 of them were passing yards. So yeah, that's 130 yards right there. And then, you just get some garbage time stats here and there kind of thing. And it's a little surprising, but at the same time, when you see those 2 drives, it's like, okay, like that explains the bulk of it. But it is just funny to see throws for 260, but net yardage, it's only 200 when you get sacked 8 times in a game.
Right.
Like, and same thing with the offense. There are some issues. As much as a scripted drive is the best an opposing team is going to look, you can't just get pushed down the field like that, like the Packers did on the opening drive. You've got to have a little more resistance. But I think part of what went into that is I just think the linebacker play was just so much better after it from that point in the game on, because a lot of the openings that the Titans were finding on that first drive was like in that hook zone right behind the linebackers, and the Packers kind of cinched that down after that point in the game. You saw Levis start to double clutch on throws and not just wing the ball out there. And then the pressure just got turned up, and Levis just kept holding the ball longer and longer and longer, and that was all she wrote for the game really today.
Pretty much. And like I said, kind of with the offense, there's not much that you can really pick apart with the defense, because it really, they did their jobs and they did it well. And there are little things just to clean up, but there's not much you can, other than working through practice and getting better at it, you're not going to be able to do much with it. I think Quay, outside of a couple plays, still was a solid player today. Duffy showed that he's definitely not a coverage type backer.
Yeah. You see it once or twice a game where it's like, yeah, like you're in there for your run instincts and your physicality in the box, and anytime there's any sort of pass coverage, it's like you're just crossing your fingers that they don't look his way kind of thing and stuff. And unfortunately, the 2 times in the red zone, they've found him this season, and it's been a touchdown both times. Week 1 against Saquon, and then today against Vanette on the first series. So,
yeah, and I know it was Vanette's first touchdown in like 4 years or something like that. So
that's just the Packers' usual.
and McDuffie just read it wrong, which understandably, because he was in the area, he just had let Vanette drift off a little bit further than what he should have.
Yeah,
but it is what it is.
And I think positive, you kind of glossed over it a little bit, but Tennessee didn't run it a lot. But it's still good that against against our defensive front, an undermanned offensive line for the Titans, it's good that we didn't let any leaks spring out of that run game. Even Levis only averaged 4 yards a carry, so it's not like he broke anything super. His long was 8, so on 2 other rushes he got 4 yards, and Pollard's long was 4, Spears' long was 6. So it's just good to see the run defense, especially as they're in the point of the game where it's like, yeah, if you want to run it, we'll let you run it, to a certain extent, that they kind of didn't. So I think that's a big positive. People were really concerned about, what Saquon and Taylor had done. And the 2 of us, we had both kind of said that we do, it's not excusable to allow guys to average 10 yards a carry. But at the same time, I think a lot of that is you just have so much concern for this mobile quarterback you're facing that something's got to get put to the back burner or side burner. So it's good to see them in, like you said about the pass rush, in a mismatch of our front against their front. We won that on both the ground and against the pass game.
For sure. And had this been last year with the Barry defense, they still would have gave up 100 yards rushing, 100 yards rushing, and whatever. But they, as a team, the Titans only gained 33 yards on rushing. So,
but overall, kind of like we circled back to LaFleur. Very pleased with what we're seeing from Halfley. Just the fact that he's willing to show different looks on third downs. You're seeing early in the season, you're seeing bear looks on for the double A gap mug looks. You're not waiting till like, oh shit, my job might be on the line. I better try something different. Halfley has been, for the most part, what we've expected, what we've been sold on him being, and it's just good to see that come to bear early on in the season. And next week will be a big test. This is, I based on level of play, this Vikings offense is operating better than even the Eagles offense, so it'll be a tough test for them.
I mean, I know we'll talk about it in the preview, but I was looking over the stats, and this offense of theirs doesn't scare me so much.
Where they're good, Green Bay should be good too, and that's where I'm going to leave it for now. We do have our preview to do, but just in terms of their output, I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're producing, and we'll see. I think it's their first road game next week, so we'll see where they're really at. But it's good to see the defense playing like they are heading into that game. That's kind of where I'm going with that. So
right,
yeah. And on to special teams, and our boy Daniel Whelan did dirty. Like, he should have had just an astronomical day punting the ball. It's just unfortunate that he was like 6 inches off from just a nuke of a 60-yard punt. Like, if he punts that thing 62 yards instead of 63 yards, that is one of the all-time, Pat McAfee might have blown his socks off and not come back to earth for a week. And it's just unfortunate that, and he tried to coffin corner it and it just bounced the wrong way, kind of thing. But Whelan is again proving that he is excellent, probably the best punter we've had since prime Tim Mastey, and he continues to do really well as a holder. So really happy with what we've seen from him so far. Punt returns, not too much happened there. I thought our coverage was pretty good. I thought our coverage on kickoffs was pretty good. And then I know Narveson ended up 100% on the day. It's not good that he missed the kick that he did, but also I'm lenient because there was a penalty that created pressure that wasn't supposed to be there. So I'm like, it's one of those, I'm not quite sure what to do with that, but it was good to see him bounce back and make his next kick after it. So it's kind of like, not great to see him miss it, but it's good to see him, like you said about Anders, that he didn't miss the next one and the next one kind of thing. So I got to give him credit for that.
Not much I can add with it other than he did miss the kick and he did push it right. So
that's the concerning part, is they're all to the right. And like I said, the excuse that I am willing to say is there was a penalty. It was from his left, and he was obviously going to adjust for that rush that was created because of the penalty. But it's not good to see that all of his kicks are going from left to right. Like, from his vantage point, they're either slightly off center or on the left hash, and they're shading to the right. Like, that's something that Bisaccia has got to figure out really quick with Narveson. So other than that, we say it all the time, we're not kicking experts, but it's nice to see him be perfect on a day. And we'll just earmark how he got there today.
The only other thing that I want to bring up, and it's not special teams, but I want to go back to offense, and I forgot all about it until just a few moments ago when we were talking penalty. It's really weird what the refs were calling penalties and what they weren't calling penalties. And the one that really springs to mind to me that they didn't call was Snead's hit on Reed. And it really is weird that it was not called, just because he didn't have the ball. You can't tell me Snead didn't see him not have the ball, because he had his eyes right on him. And Reed basically gave up after not having the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But yet Snead is allowed to pick him up and drive him into the ground.
Well, and that last part is the part that pisses you off the most because we've seen the Packers get flagged for that. We've seen other people get flagged for that. And that suplex is supposed to be an auto flag regardless of whether the player has the ball, but especially if he doesn't have the ball. And then on top of that, like you noted, Joe, the timing was terrible because he takes like 3 steps after Reed has dropped the ball to initiate the suplex. So all around, it's just like, dude, what the fuck are you guys looking at? Like, it just all around was just a... And then, like, Fox kind of conveniently put up the, like, Green Bay has 5 penalties and the Titans have none graphic kind of thing. And it's like, all right, like, what are we looking at here, guys? And like I said, it would be one thing if they were all the Rasheed Walker hold. Like I said, that was a hold. But you throw on top of it the hands to the face that wasn't, the holding penalty on Elton that they don't even show the replay of, and further point, Moose Johnston doesn't even comment on it because they must have seen it on their TV, and Moose must have been like, well, that's a load of bullshit. And so, like, you know how this commentating works, where if it's bad, they'll be like, we didn't get a replay of it, but he got his money's worth kind of thing. The fact that Moose just is like, we're moving on to the next play, it's like, that and the fact that we got no replay tells me, like, yeah. Plus, it's like 3 plays after the Rasheed hands to the face that wasn't. It's like, all right, come on now. This is smelling like home cooking right now. So, yeah. And then, you had a couple play, like there was one play I vividly remember where Rashawn and Preston both get like bear hugged and tripped from behind by 2 different linemen on the same play kind of thing. And it's like, okay, like, what's that? Like, that's not a play.
And there's one, and I don't know if I'm mixing games together or not because everything's running together right now, but I'm pretty sure that even the commentators called it out that there should have been a late hit. And I can't remember who it was, but
it was Jaden. It was Jaden Reed again. It was the punt return. I know which one you're talking. It's the punt return where, it wasn't an egregious hit, but 2 guys do come and collide with him late after he's like standing out of bounds kind of thing. And yeah, Moose and I think it's Burkhart. They're both kind of like, not Burkhart, Kruger. But yeah, they're both kind of like...
It was like, well, we're looking for a flag, but, well, I guess there's no flag on that.
Yeah. So...
I don't know. This crap is getting... And I'm not saying that it's just a strictly Packers thing. It's league-wide that these guys are calling stupid-ass calls, but when they need to call something, they won't call it.
Yeah. It leads credence to the whole, like, they've called their quota already for the game, and it's like, oh, we blew our 6 shots in the first quarter. I hope nothing happens after this point. So yeah, not great from the refs. But other than that, any other thoughts on today's game?
The only other thing that it kind of sticks out is the sideline report about Jordan. And I can't think of what her name was, but she was talking about how she was talking with Jordan, and she's surprised he wasn't starting just by what they were having him do pregame.
I think it just lays credence that he is ready, but the team is so confident in Willis. And like, this is just me speaking from. I think that LaFleur is like, we can do whatever we want with Willis, and let's just give Jordan one more week, kind of thing. Almost to the extent of hubris, like, and cockiness. But yeah, I heard that sideline report, and I was kind of like, yeah, like, it's what LaFleur has been saying. It's what the local beat writers have been saying, that it's like, yeah, like, he's ready. They're just like so confident in what they've got that they'll beat Tennessee with Malik and whatever they want to do.
Do you think, and I asked you this last for our preview, but I'm going to ask you again. Do you think Tennessee's kind of wishing they wouldn't have traded Malik with what they're seeing the last 2 weeks?
Okay, and I'll preface it this way. I'm going to say yes, because I think their front office is that bad. If you look at how they've constructed their offense, they probably are thinking, oh, we're good everywhere else. We picked the wrong quarterback to a certain extent. I don't think they have the wherewithal to recognize, like, Look at that O-line compared to our O-line. Look at their receiver room compared to our receiver room. The running backs, you can kind of, okay, like I like Pollard and Spears on some level. I don't think they're as good as Jacobs, but also, Wilson is not as good as them kind of thing. So, but if you look at receivers and tight ends and O-line and you compare the two, that's the difference.
Right.
I think it wouldn't be as impressive because Levis can't run like Willis can. But if we took either of those two quarterbacks, we would have won these last two games. I really do think that the situation in Green Bay is that good that LaFleur would have won these last two games with either of those two quarterbacks. So, long way of saying they might think it because they're just that bad at their jobs, but no, I don't think that's what it is. All right.
So,
take it away. It's your segment, my good friend.
Yeah, it's that time again for our favorite segment, Shut the Fuck Up. And this week I got a couple of them. I kind of foreshadowed this one earlier in the episode about Christian Watson. This one comes from Dairyland Express. Mr. or I'm assuming Mr. Jovan Alford. And the headline is Packers have perfect trade partner for underperforming wide receiver. If Christian Watson continues to struggle, the Packers might be better off trading him to this AFC team. I'm not going to read the whole article. If you guys want to go read it, it's over on Dairyland Express. My complaint about it is, how is he underperforming? Is he? I understand he's not having like multiple 100-yard games and everything else, but week 1, shitty ass field, everybody struggled. Week 2, first start for the backup quarterback that's only been in the system for 3 weeks.
Only throw the ball 14 times.
And only throw the ball 14 times. This week he had a better performance. Honestly, how is he underperforming? I mean, he's doing perfectly fine for the system we're in right now without the main starting quarterback. Now that Malik has been able to throw it a little bit more, I mean, go to the stats right now.
19 throws today. That's very under average. Like, yeah.
And Christian had 2 receptions for 67 yards. One of them was his long was 37. 2 catches on 2 targets. I think that's pretty damn good if you ask me.
Yep. That's so batting 1,000.
So this whole notion that he's underperforming, so we need to ship him out, it's clickbait. That's all you want, is you want the content clickbait. I fell for it, so part of it's on me. But to be fair, you're not the only one spreading this stuff. Everybody and their little brother is pushing oh, he's not doing this. We need to get rid of him. We need to get rid of him. Shut the fuck up.
And to go a further step than that, if the whole point is to contend for a Super Bowl right now this season, you cannot you can't throw away one of your top physical wide receiver threat, like athletic wide receiver threats. The whole premise of they have 5 wide receiver ones argument is that you have 5 really, really good wide receivers. And like, unless you're going to somehow get that back in the trade, you just can't do it. And that would be it. And like you said, he's playing fine. And it's just the circumstances that are not matching your perceived expectations. But he's forcing the defenses to play with depth whenever he's on the field. And if he's not getting targeted, it's because someone else is open because of him. So, shut the fuck up.
Jovan Alford, shut the fuck up. This next one is going to be a light shut the fuck up, because I understand where the guy's coming from, but statistically, you're in the wrong. And I got to pull it up here real quick. But a couple days ago, there was a Twitter thread or X thread or whatever the fuck you want to call it, going on about Lucas Van Ness. And it was Austin Kruger He covers Packers for Fansided and Lombardi Avenue. I got to pull up the original tweet here. He goes, not panicking about the Van Ness pick yet since he came out very raw, like Gary, but Will McDonald was taken 2 picks after LVN and has been absolutely unstoppable this season. Already 4.5 sacks, 4 tackles for loss to LVN's 3 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss. That's all well and good. There was another person that tweeted that LVN has only played half the amount of snaps, and I did the research, and yes, this year minus Thursday night's game, McDonald played 51% of the Jets' defensive snaps to Lucas's 30% of the Packers' defensive snaps. So that's 21% more snaps that McDonald is playing compared to Lucas Van Ness. Lucas also has to contend with Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, Kingsley Enagbare. He's got other guys that they rotate in and out with. It's not just him out there.
And to build off of that, McDonald's is seeing an increase in his snaps because Jermaine Johnson tore his Achilles tendon against the Titans. So that's one guy.
And isn't Hassan Reddick still holding out?
Yep, and that too. And his 5 sacks, none of them were against the 49ers, the best O-line that they faced. He's got 3 sacks against this Titans O-line and 2 sacks against the New England O-line, which was starting like a hospital unit on Thursday Night Football because 2 of their starters were out, another 2 were injured. They moved their rookie right tackle to left tackle and bumped one of their guards out to right. They did all kind of musical chairs. So yes, he has the stats, but that just shows you're only looking at what you want to look at. Yeah.
Yeah, and that just means you panicked about the pick because it wasn't the quote-unquote sexy pick for you. So, again, I understand where you're coming from. It does look like it's a big gap, but in the end, when you actually sit down and do the looking at it, it's not that big of a worry. So, Austin Kruger, shut the fuck up.
And who had more sacks last season? Oh, it was Lucas.
Well, and see, that was the other thing that he tried to throw out there. He goes, that's another testament to McDonald's being more pro-ready right now than LVN. He was arguably the best pure rusher in the class. LVN was extremely raw with upside. Day 1 starter versus 2-3-year project. Jets have plenty of pass rushers while LVN can't overtake Enagbare. It's not that he can't overtake Enagbare. The Packers are rotating them.
Yeah.
That would be like saying Enagbare has taken over for Preston or Rashawn. That's not the case.
Yeah.
They're just rotating snaps.
And what's nice is that they're actually rotating them intermittently now. They're not just doing the hockey shift anymore. You're seeing Kingsley out there with Rashawn, Lucas out there with Preston, Lucas out there with Rashawn and stuff like that. We still haven't seen the thing you wanted to see, which is Lucas next to Rashawn, but we did. I think there were at least 1 or 2 other NASCAR snaps where all 4 of the edges were out there. So maybe we're getting closer, but yeah.
I'm going to have to call Halfley. I'm going to have to say, Half, this has got to happen. I think it's going to be killer. You got to do it, Half. So my last one here is going back to good old friend Kyle Wallace. And I have to point out that somebody else actually called him out for this, so I'm just piggybacking off of it. Forgive me, I'm not sure what his actual name is, but his Twitter handle is Ferd Turgeson.
I think Monty. You know him. Monty.
Yeah, Monty. But I'm going to play this clip first, and then we'll go into the shut the fuck up moment.
Stop beating around the bush. Let's call it what it is. Jordan Love is being selfish. And it isn't just Jordan Love. It is his agency as well that is making Jordan Love put himself first.
So that was in response to Jordan Love's not participating
his hold in.
Yeah, his hold in. So all well and good. That's great. You're calling him out for holding out or holding in and not participating in practice. But not just this past week, you decided to say,
Jordan Love needs to sit his ass down. And when I say that, is I need him, fine, be out on the practice field. But when it comes on Sunday, he needs to be holding the clipboard. Holding the clipboard, helping out. I don't even want him to be an emergency quarterback. Don't put no Russell Wilson and putting on shoulder pads and none of that. No, I need you to be in shorts, and I need you to be in the T-shirt and chilling in Tennessee.
So now this is where the shut the fuck up moment comes in. You can't have it both ways. You can't say on one hand, oh, well, you can't do this because you're taking away, or you're not participating.
You're being selfish.
You're doing this and you're not practicing. But then on the other hand, you don't want him to do anything just in case he gets hurt anymore. Well, I would rather him not practice in preseason, because if he gets hurt then, you're going to be bitching about him getting hurt in preseason and why is he out there practicing and all this other stuff. But now you're going to go, oh, well, he may be close to playing, but he just needs to sit his ass down. It doesn't make sense. And I know Monty called you out for it, but I'm doing it right now too, because I still have not figured out exactly who you are and what you're trying to be. But again, like I've said before, to you, Mr. Kyle Wallace, shut the fuck up.
I got nothing to add on that one. Yeah, just a bunch of hot air.
I have a feeling he's going to make more appearances on this segment.
All right. Well, before
we better call it before you die.
That's going to do it for us. We'll be back with our Thursday preview show of the Packers' first divisional game against the Vikings. Please check out the website, ohanapackers.org. Our writers are putting out content daily, basically at this point. Please check out the streams of all of our shows. Check out our merch. Please support the channel, the website and the channel. That way, we've got coffee, shirts, tumblers. Joe is coming up with new shit every day, so just keep your eyes on that and refresh as often as you can. Please follow the show on Twitter at Ohana_Packers to be following for any of our giveaways, any of our announcements, anything like that. Got to be following the show's Twitter handle. Please follow the show on your favorite podcasting apps. Give us a like and a subscribe. Positive and negative feedback, please give it to us in the comments. We want to be creating the content you're looking for. The Packers are above 500. They've done it on the strength of their backup quarterback and their brainiac head coach. And they go marching into their second home game of the season, the divisional home opener, and they look to take just a commanding win over the Vikings next week. We'll take a look ahead of that on Thursday, but that's Iowa Joe. I'm Mike. Go Pack Go, and aloha.